you should never hesitate to call upon us for assistance with any question that you have. You can call us, or well, at this point, I guess it's mostly emailing us, and we're always happy to talk to you on the phone though, if you prefer that. And we'll get back to you as soon as possible, either with the answer to your question or finding the person to help you. So if you're ever in a quandary about anything over the course of your graduate career concerning your graduate education here, don't hesitate to call us. We pride ourselves on the service that we offer to our students. And once I came to the graduate school, which was in 2012, I immediately saw why other people would say that the grad studies staff was the best staff on campus or one of the best staffs on campus. I think they're probably the best staff in the world. Now, regarding today's events, this isn't meant to be a comprehensive review of all things graduate studies related. That would probably take us all day. And also, we tried to kind of prime you over the summer by sending you regular communications. In fact, you've seen probably some of the faces already in those videos that we prepared and sent, and all other kinds of material that we would normally include in our orientation. So we know that you've already received a lot of information. We also know from our own experiences as new employees and new faculty members, new dean, that those first days and those first weeks of your semester are going to be really, really hectic. And you're not going to retain all of this information. About a month from now is probably when some of the questions that you didn't know you had will arise. And also some of those questions that you had in the beginning that you forgot the answers to will also come up. So again, you can always call us, but we plan to set up a few informal sessions over the next couple months to continue to extend kind of this orientation. So we're not trying to answer everything here today. Mostly we just want to welcome you and make you feel comfortable. And if you're more nervous than excited right now, that we switch that around so that you feel excited again about this new opportunity that you're reaching, or that you're attempting to achieve. So our goals are to ease your way into the first semester by welcoming you, by offering you some words of reassurance and encouragement, and by offering you just enough information so that you'll know where to go and whom to see after you get where to go to get all your questions answered. So this first half hour or so is basically a welcome from me, and then we'll have some short question and answers. In fact, I encourage you to go ahead and type any questions or concerns, the things that you are hoping that we address here for you today in the chat session. And the grad staff will actually be monitoring those questions, and we'll bring some of them up when I'm done with this introduction, and we'll go through some of those questions. Then at about the 30-minute mark or so, what we'll do is some of you have indicated that you want to join some of the breakout sessions that we have set up. So we have a handful of our graduate coordinators here who will be running their own breakout sessions. And then we also have some graduate students here who will meet with you in a more kind of informal session to chat student to student in that breakout room. We'll put the breakout room list up again. Most of you have indicated what breakout room you want to go in, but we can also assign those of you who haven't indicated a breakout room into one of those. But at the same time, we also are going to keep this main room open, and we'll continue to chat with you, and some of us will stay in this main room and answer additional questions and so on. So before we turn to that question and answer and breakout session though, let me go ahead and ask you this, and I would probably have to stop sharing screen, but just think about this. How many of you, and this is something we can talk about in our breakout rooms, are nervous about this new chapter, about this new adventure that you're embarking on? So perhaps you feel a bit uncertain about your abilities. I see some raised hands. Yes, thank you. Okay, so you're uncertain about your abilities to succeed. Here's another one. Maybe you feel unprepared, or you're thinking, you know, I've been out of school for so long, I forget how to do this, right? I don't even, you know, Zoom, this is the first time I've used Zoom, right? I'm so unprepared. Or you're thinking, well, actually, I just finished my undergrad degree. Maybe I should have taken some time off. Maybe I'm not ready yet. Or maybe you're from a different region. You're from a different state or a different country. You may be thinking, how am I going to adapt to the culture of this community, to the university, to my department? And of course, some of you are quite concerned about starting off your grad education in this virtual world. We heard from a lot of you that you had this concern, and I'm actually looking at one of our continuing students who I remember came to my office last semester and was thinking about taking a leave because of her concern about, will I feel engaged in those classroom encounters if they're virtual? And I'm happy to say that she decided that the virtual environment did work, maybe not perfectly or as beautifully as being in person, but it is working. And so she did come back.
Worth it.
I wasn't going to out you, but since you did.
So. I outed myself, we're good.
And then of course, some of you have, and probably most of you actually, if not all of you, you have all kinds of different pressures. You have jobs and you have families and so many other responsibilities, and you're asking yourself, how am I going to balance all of this? In fact, most of you probably have a mix of these worries. So I'm sure that you have other concerns and anxieties beyond these too. And here's the thing, and I'm not going to lie to you. We did have some of you write. We were fielding your questions for one of the chat sessions we held this summer. And a couple of you or a few of you wrote in and asked about, is grad school really significantly different from undergrad? Is it harder? Am I going to be able to do it? Well, the thing is that it is actually. Graduate school, graduate education is more challenging. It's more demanding. It's more rigorous. It is more time consuming than most of the undergrad classes that you probably had. It is hard. I don't want to lie to you about that. However, I can also offer you some reassurances that we are absolutely confident that you are up to the task. Now, you're probably thinking, how can you possibly know that? You don't know me, right? I know a handful of you, but certainly not most of you. Well, here's what I know. I know our history and I know our statistics. And what they tell us is that the vast majority of our students complete their degrees. In fact, in most of our programs, 93 to 100% graduate. We have some programs who year after year, 100% of their students graduate. But even then, most of our programs have at least a 93% graduation rate. And at least half of those students actually do it in 2 years or even less. So we have a very high success rate. That's a pretty phenomenal completion rate. And then the other thing is that we also know that of those who don't finish, it's usually because of a personal choice and not because they failed out. But despite those statistics, despite our reassurances, we know that this is still an intimidating enterprise for many of you. And this sense of possible failure looms large in the minds of new students. In fact, a term has been coined for that feeling of impending failure, and that's the imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome. So this is the feeling that you don't belong here and that you'll be found out. I experienced this myself when I was in my first year of my PhD program, but even before that, as a master's student and even as an undergrad, I felt like an imposter. Not always, but often, and especially at the beginning of my career. When I was in graduate school at the end of my first year of my PhD program, we were having a celebration with my peers. There were only about 14 of us in our cohort. And we were celebrating making it to the end of the semester. And I've told this story to my colleagues here, so they've heard this before. But one of my friends blurts out, I can't believe that I made it. I can't believe that they didn't find whoever they is, right? They, the administration, I guess, our faculty, they didn't find me out. And my mouth fell open because I had been feeling that same thing the entire year. And the thing is that this person, Jeannie, her name is Jeannie Sowers, she actually had graduated at the top of her class at Harvard. like #1 or #2 out of 6,000 students. I'm a Chico State graduate. I went here as an undergraduate in the late 80s and a graduate student in the political science department in the early 90s. And I had a really great education through excellent mentoring, but I felt completely unprepared. And this person from Harvard was telling me she thought she wasn't going to make it. And so I blurted out, how could you think that you didn't belong here? You're from Harvard. And, what about me? I'm from Chico State. Not to denigrate, I thought that I was well educated, but nonetheless, right? Harvard. And she said, right, you're from Chico State, you must be great. So, at that point, everybody burst out and admitted, no matter where they were from, no matter how prepared we thought they were, they all at some point felt like they didn't belong there. And we know that this is a common occurrence for the vast majority of grad students. If you don't have imposter syndrome, that is wonderful. But we do know that most of you do, and of course you report to that. So we saw this cute little Winnie the Pooh where he says, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And that's really what you need to keep in mind when that imposter syndrome rears its ugly head. Now, in addition to reassuring you that you have every reason to be here, you have every reason to think that you are going to succeed, we also want to offer you a little bit of information that I hope enhances your excitement about and even further deepens your commitment to your graduate student journey. So this information, I think, it's often important to students. For example, if you're talking to your parents and you're trying to explain to them why you're going to school for another 2 years, right? And many of us find ourselves in that situation. These are the kind of things that we do want you to keep in mind. So one of the reasons we love having you here is that you're vitally important to our institution. So you enhance and improve this institution in ways that if we did not have you as our graduate students, I think the quality and the vibrancy of our university would really suffer. So you're joining a cohort of over 15,000 master's graduates that stretch back more than 50 years at Chico State. And you have been drawn, like our past students, from the local region and other parts of the state, across the United States and from across the world. And like our past students, we know your group will go on to make significant contributions to your disciplines through your experiments and your research. You'll produce important findings and innovative technologies. And you will leave here to join firms and organizations in your industries and to pursue further research and doctoral programs at top-notch universities. I think an advantage to having this Zoom presentation is, before when we presented this slide, I don't think students could mostly read some of the things that are on here. And so I hope you can read what is here. But basically, this is just giving you an idea that our students are going on to make significant contributions in communities, in their local communities, but also all over the world. And so you can see here that we have students who are working for the government of Thailand, for Tesla, Amazon, Google, for pharmaceutical companies, and just across the spectrum. Of course, this is just a small little tidbit of that. Students are also working locally and across the state. We provide most of the educational administrators in the North State, most of the social service workers, the professional workers in particular at the government level, both elected officials and employees, and just across the gamut. So our graduate students actually are providing a unique service to the North State in ways that other CSUs in their regions perhaps don't have the same impact that we have on the North State. And then also on our campus. So as you can see, all over our campus, our graduate students, our former graduate students are working, and our current graduate students are working. A few years ago, we started to do a survey to collect, you would think the data was easy to get, but at the time it wasn't. And we started to count how many people had graduated, how many of our alumni were working on campus. And I think we got up to around 400 of our staff. So probably a third to maybe even close to our staff on this campus are Chico State graduate students. So you are making, and you will be making, a significant contribution to our campus. So we have many reasons then at this institution to be excited about you being here, and in this community to be excited about you being here. But we know that your primary objective is not to serve us. We know that you're pursuing an advanced degree to expand your own future opportunities. And luckily for you, this may be one of the best times to engage in this pursuit, even in this really strange and difficult time, because the value of graduate degrees are growing. And that's true in several important ways. So those with a master's degree are offered greater employment opportunities than those without, in several kinds of ways. So those with a master's degree have an increased likelihood of being hired compared to those with a bachelor's degree in almost every field. Their rates of employment are higher. Now, this is a slightly old statistic. We couldn't really get an updated one, but according to the US Department of Labor, old meaning it doesn't represent the last few months, the unemployment rate for master's degrees holders is about half. At this time last year, it was about 2% than all other workers. From everything I could find, the unemployment rates for master's students is still significantly lower for those of all other workers. That includes even people with PhDs, actually. In many career sectors, a master's degree is replacing a bachelor's as the minimum requirement for employment. And those with master's degrees have an increased chance of being selected for upper management and administrative positions. So what we actually know in the state of California, but all over the country, is that even those professions where the master's degree was not needed, a lot of the engineering professions, for example, even computer science, even in those fields, the demand for the master's degree is growing. In fact, most of our top leaders hold graduate degrees. We see this in government, law, science, and education. We see this in business, where the vast majority of those leading the top 1,000 companies hold graduate degrees or master's degrees, MBAs. While holding a graduate degree is not a guarantee of ultimate success, it certainly opens up many more doors of employment. So the master's degree offers enhanced financial rewards. So those with a master's degree continue to significantly out-earn those workers without. So for example, the median salary for the US workers holding a bachelor's degree in 2015, and we were looking for the updated statistic on this and didn't feel certain about the ones that we found. So we left it at this. But a bachelor's degree holder makes a median salary of $65,000. The median salary for those with a master's degree or higher is $98,000. That represents more than a 30% difference in average annual salary. So over a lifetime, that can amount to more than $500,000. This slide we pulled up, and not because I expect you to be able to read all of those positions, but we were curious when we were doing the collection of who of our alumni work on campus to look at the different positions that they were in. And these are some of them, from everything on the left-hand side of the screen, from program coordinator all the way through, including some clerical staff, student service staffs, head coaches, assistant professors, deans. The dean of communications and education is a former Chico State alumni, as am I. As you can see, the salaries are pretty wide-ranging, with lecturers teaching 1 or 2 classes, maybe being down at the lower end, all the way up past what is now actually over $180,000. So these are for our alumni working on campus. So the last thing I want to say then to you about why you should be, feeling good about this decision and really excited about what you were doing and confident that this was a good decision is that master's degrees also offer personal growth and a sense of accomplishment. A graduate education offers individuals a chance to develop their mind and gain deeper knowledge and engage in challenging and rewarding experiences. And graduate degrees holders report a deep feeling of long-lasting pride and satisfaction, a deep sense of accomplishment for achieving a difficult goal that few others complete. About 9% of our population hold a master's degree. Around 32 or 33% hold a BA. So that's still a fairly rarefied degree, but a master's degree is even more so. That's an amazing accomplishment. And so from a graduate degree, you may also garner greater status, recognition, respect, and credibility. And finally, as our world faces deepening and newly emerging economic and social problems, the solutions do require knowledgeable experts and innovative thinkers. Businesses and industry and governments are depending more and more on those with master's degrees to fill those crucial roles. So clearly a master's degree offers a competitive advantage in the workforce, and the pursuit of the degree also offers you an intellectually and emotionally enriching experience. So you'll be challenged, no doubt, right? You'll be challenged to think in new ways, to work harder than you have ever worked, perhaps, to achieve goals you weren't sure that you could actually achieve. And of course, the success doesn't just happen without a lot of work on your part and a lot of support and guidance from others. But rest assured, we're here to help you in all of those endeavors. So that's what we'll turn to now. Thanks for listening and listening so patiently. So we'll offer you some support and guidance to get you on the right foot. If we have some questions, we'll start with those, and then we'll move into some breakout groups. Jeanette, you might have been gathering some questions. Do we have any from our chat?
Hi, Sharon. I have one question here, and it asks, she's wondering when students will receive their ID cards. Does anyone know that?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, in this virtual world, I realize I don't think I know that. Does anybody know?
Would that be an ITSS question? So that's where you go when
It's an
you...
ITSS question, but I think they're doing virtual cards starting this year, electronic cards.
Okay, we'll send the answer out to everyone, but Erin, we have your name down. We'll make sure we do send it directly to you too. And we might do a little posting on our website too. That's a good source of information. Oh, thank you. So somebody said make an appointment with ITSS.
And if in emergency you need to know what your ID number is, you can contact Graduate Studies and we can, if you don't know what it is, we can let you know.
Yeah. Jeanette, can you read some of those chat responses? Because it looks like people are giving us good information there.
Hi, Sharon. Let's see. Some people have said that some people say that they've picked them up. Some people say make an appointment with ITSS. You can apply for a card online. So there's a lot of information here.
That's great. Alex put in there the link to the ID card, so you can copy that if you want and get you there. We'll copy that for sure. I see one of the questions is about scholarships or grants for graduate students. And there are some scholarships, fellowships available for graduate students. Right now, none are available for you to apply to, but we will be sending out a separate Zoom meeting. That's one of our kind of special sessions. Because we find that students, we talk about the fellowships and then they loop back about 2 weeks later. So that'll be one of our first special sessions. For now, what you can do is you can look on our website, and we do have a section there for fellowships and scholarships and so forth. But the other thing is, if you want to send us an email and even maybe, you know, your discipline and some of your interests, we will send you kind of a tailored response too. But otherwise, look on our website, and then also look for our special session coming up. And then the other thing to know is that definitely check your student email. We know you guys get a lot of stuff on email. We do too. Sometimes I get, you know, 200 to 300 emails that I have to look at every single day, and it's overwhelming. But one of the ways, in fact, really the one way we can best share information with you is through your email. And we send you job announcements, fellowship announcements. We try to give you a heads up about these things well in advance. We hold scholarship and fellowship writing workshops, personal statement writing workshops, or we'll help you with those individually. So make sure you check your email too.
I wanted to also add something to that, and that is that the grad announcements go out from the grad studies email account, and it is a general announcement system that allows us to send something out to all grad students. And so every once in a while, you're going to get an email that is maybe for people who are about to graduate, or, you know, maybe it's for somebody who's not exactly where you're at. And the system doesn't allow us to choose a finer set of people. But we do send lots of those announcements out. And so I want you to just be aware to do check that, but also feel free to email us if you're not sure if it applies to you. And just know that they're general announcements. And so sometimes it will apply to a different subset of students, but we want everybody to know.
Grad students are also eligible for financial aid. I know probably not for this semester, or probably past that time, but that was something that I was unaware of when I first started. So if you think that you would get financial aid, go ahead and talk with them. Even if you don't, might as well talk with them and see if you might.
Yeah, definitely. Get your FAFSA. We have something called a state university grant that, as long as you have applied for, you know, through the general FAFSA financial aid application and had that submitted, the financial aid office will look for economic eligibility, and a third to a half of our graduate students will usually qualify for some portion of a state university grant. So it might be anywhere. I think the average award is about $3,000 a year. So it's not insignificant. And if you haven't applied or haven't submitted a FAFSA, as Claire said, contact the financial aid office right away and see what can be done, because you'll want to be considered for that award. Anything else on that? Somebody asked about, we'll make sure we get all these questions and send the answers out to you after the session too. But somebody asked about the library. Yeah.
Sorry, somebody in the chat did say that they got financial aid even after the deadline was up. So it might be worth, if you need help with that, calling and seeing.
I got financial aid in the middle of my first year of grad school when I realized I hadn't budgeted properly years ago. So you don't, if you missed it, like often FAFSA lets you do it rolling. So if you need help, you should always ask.
Excellent. Thanks, Erin. That's great. Yeah, I think our financial aid office, they are so student-centered, right? They will do what they can to assist you. Even if you have some kind of an emergency need, you can go in and they will try to assist you. And they'll often contact us too to see if there's something we might be able to offer. So, you know, do make sure you you contact them. So somebody asked about the library being open, and I see that Dr. Ivy really put in a really informative answer there. And their doors are not, they're not allowed actually to be open for students to come in and, you know, use the library as a study space. That's right now a CSU-wide mandate given the kind of stage we're at with the COVID in California. But they probably will be the first to open when they can to allow students to work in there. But you see that they are accessible. And also our librarian, pardon me?
This is George. I could
Oh
speak.
yeah, George, right, pop in there.
But yeah, the library's not open for any access for people to go into the building. We are circulating books, and I posted a link in the chat to some instructions. Also visit our library homepage. You can request books be pulled from our collection for you, and we'll circulate them. You come up to like a desk at the front doors and we'll hand them to you. So there's instructions. Right now, I think starting next week, we'll be doing it every day and on Saturday, but not for all day. So there's limited hours. All the campuses have also are just beginning to reopen the interlibrary loan services. So they're open on a sort of restricted basis now because every library is not open and manning those services, but they'll increase a little bit as we go through the semester. We won't open until the county approves any level 3, level 4 access to the library. We don't know. Until last week, there were plans to have the Grove study area open, but that's been shut down due to increases in infections. So for now, that's it. But then there's library reference services are available. We're all working online. There's a librarian assigned for every academic department on campus. There's people you can contact about questions. And we have a 24/7 chat reference service that's available to answer any questions when our own local librarians are not important or not available.
I do want to say also, George, somebody did ask if they're not in Chico, is there any way to get library materials?
We are investigating that. I think we are going to be doing some mailing. It wasn't clear, like, we always did this for distance students. We had mailing services where we would take our books and mail them to you. It's unclear if we have money for that, or I think we're gonna try to do it, but you have to be like further than 20 miles away from Chico or something.
Hey,
That's
George.
still being worked out. Yes.
Sorry, George, you just might want to remind students that they can access electronic materials remotely as long as they, download the VPN client or something.
We've been you don't even need to do that. I don't think. You just need to be able to log in with your portal password to access any of our electronic resources. If you're trying to access databases, it'll prompt you to log in. If you want to have books held for you or pulled and checked out for you, you have to log into the library catalog using your student ID. It'll prompt you to do that, but it's not quite as clear. You won't even see the option to select the book to put on hold for you if you don't log into the catalog with your user information.
I did want to let the students know, and then Claire, you can pop in, but I wanted to let the students know that George's colleagues made this video especially for you. We sent it out prior to the orientation, but it is on our website on the orientation page. Maybe one of the grad staff will type in the address there in chat for you. And what is so wonderful about that video is it does convey to you that special relationship that actually exists between the library and our graduate students. Our graduate students love the library, and the librarians, I think, I shouldn't really speak for George here, but I think that they do greatly enjoy working with the graduate students. And sometimes graduate students don't know, like we had a question from a reentry student who had not been in school for what sounded like a pretty long time and was pretty nervous about, you know, will my research skills be up to par and so forth. Well, I have to tell you that I had to go 2 years ago, and I just made an appointment with one of the librarians in my field, political science, and I needed a refresher. And so I told her, you know, this is what I need. And it was an amazing experience where she brought me up to date in those areas that I desperately needed that. And that's what they do with graduate students. So they work with you as individuals and they work with you as classes or as groups. And that video shows you all the different ways you can access those librarians, including this wonderful service they have, the chat service that they have from around the world. I think librarians from around the world, that you can talk to a librarian anytime, night or day. So make sure you check that out. Sometimes, you know, financial aid is your friend, grad studies is your friend, your faculty, definitely, and the library. Those are the key, I think, supporters for graduate students. Claire, were you going to add something?
I was just going to say, like, pre-COVID, you used to be able, like, if you lived somewhere that had another CSU nearby, you used to be able to use your Wildcat ID and go to and check out books from other libraries from CSUs. So I was just, maybe, are they doing anything like that now with like, could you, if you lived near one of the other campuses? I was just wondering if anybody knew about that.
Good question.
None of the campus libraries are open for physical access on any campus.
But for like the call and meet me outside with the book I ordered dealio, do you think that there's anything?
You know what? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking no, that you wouldn't be able to do that, because I don't think your credentials will work to log into their catalog to even get it. You can do it through our interlibrary loan service and we get it for you. But that's a good question. I'd have to find out, because there are so many people that are not actually, you know, present in town right now. It might be by another CSU. You're right. Before, you could go into a library and check out a book with your Chico State ID. But I haven't heard anything about that being able to work electronically right now.
Yeah, it'd be a different system for sure.
You do have, Claire actually is one of the, there are several members of our Council of Grad Students here today, and they'll be talking about that grad council in their breakout session here in just a minute. But they have been advocating, that group plus some of our other grad student groups have actually been asking for a special study space for graduate students, particularly in the library. And the graduate dean actually is quite aware of this. But as George has explained, they're not able to open access at this point. But I did see that Ashley responded to the question about, are there any study spaces on campus that will be available? And I know our grad students are really looking for that, as well as many of our undergrads. And they are setting up some spaces. And Ashley, I see you just posted that the announcement is coming out in student announcements. Is that tomorrow? No, not tomorrow, Saturday.
I believe it ran in the Thursday student announcements.
Okay.
And it likely will be running again over the next few weeks to remind students. It's going to have limited hours with pauses the one over in the Warrens Center, which is on the north side of campus for people who aren't familiar with campus yet. But that space will be open, I believe, from 8 a.m. till into the evening, but it'll be closed twice a day for a half-hour cleaning period where they're going to sanitize everything. It'll be shaded and have power strips and everything that you could need. There are also study spaces outside Sylvester's and the tables out there, and there's tables by the Merriam Library that are available for study spaces, and the Emergency Operations Center is currently looking at other opportunities to create study spaces for students outside for students as the semester progresses.
That's great. Thanks, Ashley. And I see that Dr. Matt Thomas just posted a link there that the outdoor study locations is listed under news. on the webpage. So you can grab that link too. We'll try to load all this if we don't already have it on our webpage. So at least you can just go to the one spot in grad studies and look around our webpage and on our new student orientation, which is under current students if you go, if you're not going directly to that page. And make sure that we are listing some of this. I know that some of you are really concerned about being ready for the virtual classroom. Sometimes we think that our students are, you know, more advanced in some areas than we are and just assume they know everything. But we've been hearing from students that they do have some concerns. And so Isaiah and Kaya, the students in our office, created a video that's also on our orientation page, on Grad Studies orientation page, that gives you some links to all of the resources, including, you know, the campus established resources for how to prepare. So if you're feeling at all uncomfortable, you know, there is plenty of support, and you can actually make a phone call to our TLP, which is Teaching and Learning. I had to do this the other day, and they walked me through a problem I was having with Zoom. So there is support available for you in that way too. So I think at this point, we'll make sure that we capture all of your questions, and then we get those answers back to you and share these links and so forth, and then we post everything. But some of you are going to be able to meet with your graduate coordinators. I think Rose has been working to put you into your rooms if you've already designated the room that you're in. Rose, were you going to share a list of the breakout rooms in case somebody else, you know, somebody wants to go into one of those breakout rooms? Otherwise, we're also just staying here as a main group, and we can chat with you and you know, answer additional questions if you have them too.
Okay, and I will do a share screen of the list of breakout rooms that we have, that we already had set up. And I will let you know that also Dr. Shea is here for kinesiology. If there are any kinesiology students, we could add another room. So I don't know if that's showing up for you yet.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great. So we have, you know, added folks to rooms, and yeah, and then I can manually add some more if we need it.
Okay, so we'll move everybody just kind of automatically into your breakout sessions that have signed up for breakout sessions. And then you're free to go from your breakout session. But if we'll be here for, you know, at least until 4:30. And so if for some reason you want to come back into the main room, come back in, and, you know, if you have additional questions or whatever. And so we'll just kind of wait while everybody is moved over, and then we'll poll the remaining people in the main room to see if they want to go into one of the sessions, and we'll try to move you there.
Okay, so I'm going to move folks now.
Okay.
Do, 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 do.
I'm so appreciative of one thing I should have mentioned and given a shout out to the faculty on this campus, because they're supposed to be off in the summer. They don't get paid to work in the summer. And the vast majority of our faculty signed up for these two go virtual, where they spent days on end over the summer learning how to teach in this virtual world. And so I know it was the majority of our faculty that signed up, and in fact, they weren't able to accommodate, I think, everybody that wanted to. So our grad student teaching assistants went to those, and I'm sure some of the faculty here also went to that. So I'm just thinking, did you go? Yeah. So, all right. Rose is patiently going through that. And I saw a couple other people wanted to go to groups. Let's see.
Yeah, and the thing is that you guys are dealing with somebody who, this is my first time doing this, so I do see that folks want to go in places, and I'm just not always finding that person's name. And part of it is possibly that the name that shows up here is not exactly like the name that is on your, you know, that's on my list. So anyway, forgive me that this is taking so long.
Do you want us to read the names for you? Would that be helpful, or?
Sure.
Okay. Did you do, let's see, Haley to interdisciplinary studies?
Let's see here. Yeah, the difficulty is that I'm not necessarily seeing that name. Okay, here we go. IDST. Sometimes there's no last name and I have just an email, so that's, but
okay.
Hopefully I got that one in. We'll
Haley
okay.
Adams, it popped up. Just hoping. Yeah, if you have a name that's different than your name that Rose would have, why don't you go ahead and type that in the chat so it makes it easier for her.
Oh,
thanks. Pretty please.
Okay. Now, let's see here. Okay, and Amelia wants to go to which room? Does anybody know?
No, I don't see her.
Okay.
Grad studies.
Oh, grad studies. Thank you. All right, and there we go. All righty.
Ashley, Ashley Russell to public administration, but Andy, are you in a breakout room? Is he going to be in a breakout room?
Not there yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know, honestly, for some reason that I think what it is that when I first downloaded my list, maybe there wasn't an MPA person, so that might be why. So forgive me. I will try to add that room. And Chang, do you want me to add a room for you as well?
Do we have kinesiology students here? Let's see.
Sure. I think I saw Sabrina wants to be in the kinesiology room.
Oh, great. Okay.
Here again.
Here. You know, I'm having a difficult time actually adding a new room now that I've started the rooms.
Oh, that's all right. No worries then. I can talk with her in chat.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Andy, that's a glitch on my end, and I apologize.
For the MBA, we don't have a breakout room. Oh, Claire, of course, I saw your note at 10 minutes to the hour. So I don't think Jimmy's here, is he?
No, Bobby wasn't able to come.
I mean, Bobby, sorry.
But I was seeing that in there. If anybody wants to, I can take their emails down, and I could or they can come to our first COGS meeting, and we can connect them with Bobby. He is still in the MBA program. It's his last semester, and he is the president of COGS, so he'd be a really great resource for you guys. So if you are interested, what do you think is the best way to do that? Have them give me their emails, or?
Yeah, we can, let's just stay in the main room and we'll kind of chat with some of them and see what kind of their questions or concerns are. We probably aren't going to be able to answer some specific things, but then we'll have a sense of, you know, the best person to kind of connect them to. How are you doing, Gary? Gary Day is one of our continuing graduate students who, I don't know, he has like 16 different positions here on campus.
I'm doing fine. It's Friday, so I'm good. Worked all the way up to this and got a reminder that this is going on. I was like, oh yeah, more work. Let's do it. So, yeah, finish it strong. So.
Well, while we're waiting for Rose to assign people, tell us a little bit about some of the positions you have on campus and what your degree is. And I had noticed earlier in the chat session that you had, Gary is always reaching out to students, assisting. We have a grant called the Adelante grant that Gary and some of these other students are serving as grad student assistants for, and he set up helped students set up their payroll and did all of these things. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
As Sharon says, I am a grad student just like all you guys here on campus. I'm on the tail end of it, got all 30 of those units checked off. Now I just have to do that big thing at the end. I wear many hats on this campus. I work with Sharon on the Adelante program. It's Adelante Outreach Program. I'm from the RHPM department, Recreation, Hospitality, and Parks Management, where I'm working on my master's in Recreation Administration, focusing on public lands, natural resource management, and inclusivity, diversifying all that good stuff. I also can be found at the ecological reserves. Many of you guys may or may not know, but we have an ecological reserves that are part of the CSU Chico campus, 3,950 acres in one spot, 93 acres in another spot. There are quite a bit of the students that are in this Zoom meeting right now that are part of our newly created interdisciplinary program, Wildland Management. So hello, I bug you guys every day with stuff. This is the face that does it. And then also I've done my undergrad on campus, so I kind of know like the ins and outs of the campus physically, literally, figuratively, anywhere. I can tell you where the best bathrooms are if you need to know about it. If they open the doors for us again. Lots of different areas to check out and explore. And one of my goals is to make sure that everyone who comes to Chico State, either undergrad or grad, like maximizes their time here and utilizes all the different resources that are available and learn of the doors that they didn't even know were doors that they could open around here.
Including free health services.
Yeah. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to point out was Sharon mentioned my little note in the chat about the ITSS. I bug them almost every day about stuff, running different programs on campus. So they know me like by first name for sure. So if you guys are ever new to like learning how to do the ITSS ticket requests and all that stuff and chatting them up, I could help you out and walk you through all that too.
You know, we're crazy for acronyms at Chico State. Do you know what ITSS stands for?
For me?
Yeah, anybody?
Oh.
Something technology, student services.
Right. That's what I was thinking this whole time. And so basically they are our unit on campus that directly serves students and faculty and staff to some extent to help us with everything from when we have our laptops and we want to integrate them with campus services and security and so forth. They help us with that, to the kind of basic questions that we often have. So I sometimes will have some kind of issue, or I need help downloading software or something like that, or I have some kind of problem with one of my campus, computers or whatever. These are the people that help you. And using the acronym ITSS, you'll be able to find that actually in the directory. So even though we're saying information technology, right? So how are you doing, Rose?
Oh, teamwork makes the dream work. We figured it out.
Yes. Somebody is asking about
Rose, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Amanda Larson back into the computer science room. People are getting kicked out. It's lovely. And I do apologize, Andy Potter and your MPA student, that I'm not able to get you into a separate room. I don't see an option. So if somebody is more well versed in this and knows how I can add another room once the breakout rooms have started, I would love to hear about it.
Too bad Ben Seipel is already in his breakout room. We could have asked him.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, there was an option before I sent everybody to the rooms. There was an option to add rooms, and I intended to add a room for Cheng, and then I
Yeah.
would have done it for Andy, but now that option is gone.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, Rose. So,
Yeah.
well, I kind of have a suggestion because I think that did we have a breakout room with Claire and Isaiah, or are we all just going to be in the one room?
I think Nilu and Vanya are in the COGS room.
Oh, they're in the one. Okay, good.
But you could send us over if you want to. I don't
No,
Yeah.
know
no.
where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
stay here.
actually, I did intend for you and Isaiah to be there, and actually, Isaiah.
Oh, Gary disappeared. This is really interesting. Well,
Yeah.
what I was thinking is that I'm not sure who all is left in this room, but it says 28 participants. So I'm assuming that's about right. And I'm looking at the list and there's a variety of students here. But I was thinking if you're comfortable with this, we could have, I think Andy is in a, did Andy Potter go to a?
I got
Yeah, Rosa, I don't see Andy here on this list, so I think you might have got.
Well, I didn't add a room for him, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I think that if you have general advising questions, and so for example, was Amanda the kinesiology student? You know, usually if one student has a question, even if it's specific to a program, other students are interested or it's relevant. So I think if you have any particular questions you want to ask of the, you know, of a graduate coordinator, you can ask your specific coordinator if it's Chang, or if you want to just ask a general question, you should feel free to do that. And you can keep adding to chat if you want, or just pop in and we'll, you know, raise your hand or just pop in and ask your questions.
Yeah, Sabrina and I, we've been talking behind you guys' back.
Oh, okay. You've been.
Right,
Oh, good. Okay.
That's what.
Oh,
we
it's
wanted.
Sabrina, not Amanda.
That's right. You won't be able to see.
All right. Oh, hi, Sabrina. Well, I'm glad that worked out at least. Yeah. So, well, one of the students asked about, and make sure that you do, you know, add to the chat here. But one of the students asked about the Adelante grant. And this is an example of one of the funding options that we do have available. So the Adelante grant is a grant that we wrote out of the grad office with our partner in undergrad education. And Rose was a significant contributor to that grant. And we got a $3 million Department of Education Title V grant for Hispanic serving institutions. So the grant is to help support the educational success of, as the grant calls it, Latinx and low-income students. So our participants, though, can be pulled from, you know, our target support audience are the Latinx and low-income students, which I have to say covers the vast majority of our students, actually. And so, but we can hire and support any student. So we're not just limited to that. That's just our target population. So we do have a variety of graduate positions open. And we just hired 10 mentoring students for the Wayfinders mentoring program. And we will be advertising for 2 positions, and we'll definitely get you this information out. One for the Adelante is the coordinator's position for our outreach program. And so this is where we are developing a pipeline from undergraduate to graduate to support our undergraduates to develop an interest and confidence in applying for and attending graduate school. And for example, Gary is an outreach coordinator. And then, and those are employment positions from 10 to 20 hours a week over the course of the year. Then in addition, we will have these short-term ambassadors, outreach ambassadors stipends that are $1,000 for students who then work with our graduate coordinators, our graduate student coordinators, to also engage in short-term projects where perhaps you're doing discussions in classrooms to undergraduates about why you picked graduate school, that kind of thing. A lot of our ambassadors last year were affiliated with some kind of student organizations, or they worked directly with their undergrads in a major related to their program. So those announcements are going to be coming out for those positions in probably within 2 weeks. And we do make sure that we get that out to our new graduate students in particular. And we also have some other support that we'll be letting you all know about. And again, having some short interactive sessions to support your academic success. So Carson Medley, who is our editor and thesis editor, and also the coordinator for our interdisciplinary studies programs, holds a series of workshops for graduate students, and everything from, writing a good paragraph or a good solid sentence and paragraph to, preparing your thesis. But we also offer things like writing personal statements, applying for grants, applying for Ph.D. programs, that kind of thing. So we'll make sure that you also know about those. We're also going to create some writing collaboratives this year because we have this virtual world. It's one of the opportunities that's opened up for us. And that is that we give you an opportunity, we can bring you together and actually help you support each other to get your writing projects done. Because we hear from graduate students every year, one of their number one needs is one, a personal need. How do I overcome procrastination and fear when I'm writing for my class or for, my degree, my culminating project. And so we are going to set up some kind of informal but committed student support writing groups too. So we'll get all that information to you. Let's see, a general question. Is there some sort of checklist of getting into and through the first semester by any chance? I did my undergraduate at Chico State, but that was a few years ago and things have changed. I feel like I've sort of been stumbling through knowing when to apply for financial aid and so forth. I feel a little bit lost. I'm wondering if there's just something I'm missing that outlines all of that. Lindsay, what program are you in? You can type it in or you can jump in if you want.
I'm nutrition and food science.
Oh, you're in nutrition. Okay, that's great because you actually really have a very kind of cohesive program and supportive faculty. And so here is a graduate guide that we use. Were you going to go through that? Is that you, Sarah? Or Rose, you brought this up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this does have somewhat of a place to start with a bit of a checklist, and then the guide to policies and procedures that we have also can be helpful, but specifically I knew that you were going to go into things. I just wanted to show a general place to start.
But that checklist, Sarah, do you have, that's such a good idea, a checklist for your first semester that's just a one-page, because most of the programs do actually have something very specific for their students. In fact, nutrition is so good at guiding their students that they are graduating easily within 2 years. But just having something that ahead of time for students to have just one short little page, here are the things that you do, I think that is a really great idea. We tend to just keep adding, right, more information. So a short little checklist. Can you think of something, Sarah, that might be?
I'm looking here on our website. We have something, but I don't think it's geared necessarily to the first semester. That is a good idea. It's just I found it. It's a checklist for degree requirements. So this probably wouldn't be, it's more policies and and how you get through to finish.
Well, Lindsay, I can tell you what I think most of our grad students jumped into the other session, but I see Gary's still here. And I can tell you what they just said in a couple of the chat sessions and some of the orientation sessions they were holding in small groups about kind of their advice to students their first semester. And the first was to know that your graduate coordinator is probably your single most important relationship and contact. And so actually we have a couple coordinators here. And so if you want to pop in and, you know, how do you answer this with your students, right? And so knowing that graduate coordinator, knowing that you can reach out to them, and then what the students definitely said is set up a meeting with your graduate coordinator. They're going to be busy at the beginning of the semester too, but they have office hours and they're expecting you to call on them. And they would much rather have you call and just ask the question, even if you think, oh, it's basic, or I know it's somewhere and I should have it, but they would rather you have it straightened out, right? And start off kind of feeling more comfortable and clearer than struggling through your first sessions. What do you think? So I don't, Ben, do you have any advice in that direction or?
I apologize. I've been chatting with the people who were in education who didn't get placed in the education.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I don't want to interrupt you. Yeah, go back to what you were doing then.
That's good information, though. That's really good to know, because I have been reaching out to Dr. Godo, and I just feel like some of the questions I'm asking, like, when do I know, how do I know when to register? Like, I feel like that's so basic. Like, it has to be somewhere. Like, where can I just look, you know? So, but that's good to know that, like, they just expect us to come to them with that.
I'm gonna also post the academic calendar in the chat, and that has all the dates and deadlines for registration, financial aid, when you got to pay by, when you things like that, when to apply for different things. So I'm gonna put that right now.
We actually thought at one point when everything started going to, you know, electronic, we could post things, right? And we have these websites, that it would make it easier. But the truth is, I was looking for something the other day, a little piece of information. And I was thinking about, oh my gosh, what it is actually like. I remember when I was a graduate student, you did get this booklet, right? We used to have that physical catalog and guide that you carried, but at least it was all kind of in one spot. And, you know, you looked at the table of contents and it's there. And now everything is a link to something else. And so I thought about, you know, what it would be like to be a first year student or starting student and trying to figure out, you know, some of these kinds of things. And especially because you do get so much information that it can be completely overwhelming. That's why we were saying we were going to do these follow-up orientations, because we know that even in 2 weeks. The other thing is we really do mean it. If you are not sure and you send a note, when do I register for classes again? Or I missed my registration, or somebody said, I'm not able to pay my full fees and, you know, they're going to kick me out of classes. What do I do next? You know, because I can pay in 2 weeks. And they sent that to us. We get you right to where you need to go with that information. So if you're worried that you're sending too many questions to your coordinator, you can send some to us. And some of it might be, well, you'll have to ask your coordinator. But a lot of times it really is where, like Sarah just said, we'll just make sure we send you the link or the direct information or whatever.
Thank you.
Anything else? We don't have a business breakout room. If you have any particular questions, feel free to ask them. You can just pop in if you want, or you can put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer what we can, but we'll definitely collect them. And you know, the MBA program has great student support. They have a coordinator, but they also have what some of our other coordinators would realize is this, or consider a beautiful luxury. They also have some additional professional support staff that help to work with their MBA students. So it's, you know, it's kind of a lovely thing that they have going on there. So Sarah posted the relevant dates and deadlines. So that's a really good link to have there.
And that's just from the Chico State homepage. If you scroll down a ways on the left, there's calendars. And if you click on that, there's different types of announcements and calendars that you can find. But this one has all of the academic things that you need to know.
Yeah.
And then you also can look at the graduate studies important dates and deadlines page, because sometimes those can be slightly different from the undergrad things that are posted on the main pages. And so I will grab that link and put it in the chat here in just a moment.
On our website, most of the time, in fact, that could all really will most of the time be the first place that you'll go for information besides your own program. And most of the information for you throughout your career now is going to be listed under the tab that says current students. And so you get on that current students, and that's where we have, financial aid opportunities and, how, things about commencement and evaluations and coordinators lists and all of those kinds of things. So somebody is asking, Lauren is asking about a guideline for what's expected in for independent study units. And with independent study units, those are dependent, the requirement's going to be dependent upon the instructor that you're working with for those independent studies. So there are certain requirements that the university system has set for a 3-unit course, even if it's an independent study, right? How much time you're supposed to commit to that course and so forth. So that's just kind of standard. But by and large, what's required of you in your independent study will be what you work out with your faculty member who's going to be guiding that independent study. Some programs have a very kind of set idea of what an independent study is. And so they're kind of, all the faculty or that supervise independent studies are following kind of a same format or even setting up certain kinds of independent studies. In other disciplines, an independent study is often tailored for the individual interests of that student. Particularly, it can be exciting for a faculty member if the student's interests align with maybe their own research interests. And so they'll set up a special reading course or special projects and assignments and so forth. And sometimes people think independent studies are not as rigorous as other courses, but they actually can be some of the most rigorous and involved types of courses that you take. Because you're often actually having to meet with your faculty member, your professor once a week. And, it's a one-person seminar. And if you're not prepared, right, it's going to be pretty obvious. So those are really wonderful. But that will be what you'll talk to your graduate coordinator about and your individual faculty. Slightly off topic. We're not on any particular topic. So Sabrina, this is a good question. So about when you logged into Blackboard to finish the mandatory training prior to the first day of classes, or
Sorry,
will
I left out a part of it. It's the COVID training. It's the Blackboard mandatory COVID training. It just pops up every time and I can't find out where the link is at to take it.
Oh, you're kidding. No. I'm gonna write that down because they were just asking us if we'd heard about any particular issues.
I got it in an email, in my student email.
That's what I was told, but I searched through my emails and I couldn't find it. I don't know if it just got lost. Yeah, it just takes me to the main webpage and it says to contact the COVID hotline for the campus, and so I did that. But I didn't really get any help about where to find the actual training.
Oh, wow. Gary, do you have any?
Yeah, so I just logged onto my Blackboard to see it. It's one of those messages that just pop up.
Yeah.
Sabrina, have you done the COVID training at all?
No, I have not yet.
Okay, so I think what you have to do is look in your Wildcat email. Okay. And because I know it was sent that way because I've completed it. I'll definitely look for other links to it, but I know the one that pops up on Blackboard is just one of those annoying pop-up messages like, hey, FYI, get this done. You can always click that don't show this again button if you don't want to see it anymore.
Okay.
But definitely check your Wildcat email. They send you a lot of stuff every Tuesday, Thursday, I think it is. You get something first thing in the morning, in addition to all the random stuff like this special stuff too, like COVID. So
once in a while, students, you know, something will go into their clutter or their junk mail. So, and it's hard to understand why, but it does happen from time to time. So you might want to check there too.
Okay.
We'll have a quick look when we're done here, and we'll actually contact TLP. So that's the teaching learning, and ask them directly, because if you have that question, probably hundreds of other students do too. And it would be nice to be able to easily assess that, right? And then we do have that COVID-19 resource page for students. So I'll have a quick look there and see if they've posted anything else. And then is there the student learning page might have something.
Okay.
I think this is when we need to check in for you right away, so you can do that over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
You may also be able to look, if you log into your portal, if it's the same as the one that staff has to do. I don't know if it is, but when I go on my portal, there's something called, I'm just looking at it now so I can tell you what it's called, CSU Learn. And that's where all of my trainings are. So you could, in the meantime, while you're waiting for an answer, try logging into your portal and scroll all the way down and click on the CSU Learn.
Okay.
And that may bring up something for you.
Okay.
For some reason, I didn't think they got
Might
those
not
in there
be
that
so.
fast, but
peek.
that was last week. So yeah, we'll make sure and we check. That's a good one. Maybe we can quickly send out to everybody after we find out.
Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions that are popping into your mind or concerns?
I did have one more actually.
Sure.
I'm TAing for one of the exercise physiology labs, and one of the new professors asked me, it's one of the few classes that are actually on campus, and he was asking, does want labs turned in, and so he was asking me if I or like other students didn't have access to a printer, and they're here in Chico. Is there any printing services available on campus that students can still use?
Oh, wow. As lab assistants.
Yeah, because it's an exercise physiology lab, and we're having it still, as long as there's no like COVID cases that pop up, we are still having that one. And so he does want the lab printed, and he was just wondering if there was a way that students could print them.
Sabrina,
Yeah.
that'll be a good question. I think I'll go ahead and bring this back to Kevin, and then we'll sort it through right away for you guys.
Okay.
For the lab material, right? You're talking about lab material?
Yeah. He has, he's saying instead of the students buying any kind of like lab manuals or anything like that, he has everything on Blackboard. He just wants students to be able to print it off and bring it to class to turn in.
Okay. What if students bring their laptop though? Can they bring their laptop to the lab and then just work on it?
I believe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe they can. He was just asking as far as like turning in the hard copies of it. He just asked me if there was any options that I knew students, in case they wanted to print them off.
I'll ask this to figure it out for you.
Okay. Perfect. That's all the questions I had so far.
Yeah, okay, that's great. All right, any other questions? Carson, what came up in your sessions? Anything that might be of general interest for everyone, or?
Yeah, we had some great questions. I think one of the best questions Carson asked, not me, but the other Carson, was, I've been at a school for 10 years and I'm a bit rusty, and what do I need to expect? Kind of a sort of, can I do this sort of question? And
right.
My response is that I think that he is in a better position than someone that might have just come out of an undergraduate program because there's so much of that life experience. But the hard part is when you take all of that and then you get into graduate school, and as I was describing it as this sort of, academic type of setting that you are expected to write in now. And it seems kind of so abstract when you've been out in that practical world that start reading as many journal articles as you can that are peer reviewed from 2020 on to just get the feeling for the language and the discipline and how everything's written. So you don't show up on the first day of class and you're like, what is this language people are speaking? Because I certainly felt like that when I went back to school. And yeah.
I think one of the things in the years that teaching in the Masters of Public Administration program and in political science, but in that program in particular, we had a lot of reentry students, right? And so when I first started out, probably half or more of my students were actually older than I was. And what was always so remarkable about those students is even though they were often the most nervous, they, once they settled in, I think there's something about being in the classroom and engaging in that kind of personal development, right? It's for you, and you've been taking care of family members or children or working for other people, and this is this really kind of unique opportunity to do something that's just for yourself. And so there's this like great appreciation of the work that they're doing, particularly when this is where I think the librarians come into play, because what I often see is that the reentry students are the first to start working with our library faculty and staff. And that I think if you're a reentry student, one of your biggest concerns is about research. Right? Do I know how to do research? And so similar to what I said before, where I needed a refresher course, and I just contacted my subject librarian because the librarians have specializations and they'll be assigned to your department. You find the right one. And that is a great place if you're nervous about, entering into the graduate world, is really to start working with the library. And it does kind of what you said, Carson, right? It gets you back into the academic mode, right? The things that we read and talk about and think about and so on. So I think that's really good advice.
I just posted a list of the subject librarians to the chat where you can contact librarians for your discipline, and we're all set up to make Zoom appointments or phone appointments or email appointments, and we're all available to talk to you anytime.
There's almost, this is ridiculous. I've been in the academic world for pretty much my entire life now, but I never have lost my appreciation, but also my amazement for what librarians do to support our academic community. So sometimes we've kind of moved away from this idea, but I remember somebody once saying, you only need 3 things for a university. You need the faculty, you need the students, and you need your library. And your librarians, right? And so that's where I said, I'm not sure why with graduate students, but I think it's tradition across, the whole academic world that librarians and graduate students have a special kind of connection. Any other questions? What else came up for you? Ben, are you still typing away? Okay. Ben's doing his chat advising. Anything else, Carson, come up for you guys that you think maybe?
Another interesting question came up about, and Sarah, everyone knows Sarah, evaluator, has come up a few times where a student asked if she could take 600 level courses if we don't offer them here at another university, how they transfer. So I kind of gave her a few past examples of things that have happened. And my advice there was Occam's razor, just try and keep it as simple as you can. But if those kind of situations do come up, it has happened before, but it's not something, and I could be wrong here, that we trumpet and encourage students to do.
Well, Yeah, Sarah, how would you answer that? Because I think I would have a little different answer too, but.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you think it's going to fit with your schedule or life or whatever to do a course elsewhere, just give us the information on the course ahead of time so we can evaluate it before you take the class to let you know whether it's transferable or not, because there are instances where it's not, and I would hate, for that to happen to anyone, where you think you're getting ahead and you're taking a class and it's going to count, and then we get the transcript and say, oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, just if you let us know the school, the class you want to take, and we'll take a look at it.
Now your grad coordinators are the ones who,
Well, yes.
they're your main advisor, right?
Yeah.
So you have your program. Some of you have very prescribed programs, and others of you have very loose, where you get to really work with your faculty to develop your program, and you have maybe a lot of electives. So your grad coordinator will be signing off and approving any change to your plan, or if you're working to develop your plan from the beginning. So that's really the first place you go, is with your grad coordinator, to see if they would even allow that. And then the next place is definitely with us.
Yeah, they'll tell you if you can use it. We'll tell you if it can transfer in.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just about at our closing time. And so certainly if you need to pop off, go ahead. And I do want to say that, again, we're just really thrilled that you are here. We know that this is such a strange and difficult time. It's not maybe what we would have ideally wanted for you to start your first semester, but we're actually finding some positives. And one of the positives we're finding in our office is that it's hard, because graduate students are so busy, to ever bring them together at any kind of set time physically, right? Because they're working outside of town and so on. And we've had a lot more ability to bring students together because of this virtual world, and we're seeing more students participate in some of our workshops and things like that. So, and setting up some support groups and collaboratives. You'll be hearing from the Council of Grad Students about some social activities. You'll be hearing from us about other orientations and fellowships and things like that. Basically, we are going to try to bring graduate students together for just kind of student to student interactions, for things that maybe are not related to your classroom work, are not necessarily purely social, but that you might just find interesting, so that you feel that you're part of a cohort, you feel like you're part of Chico State. For those of you outside of Chico in particular, that's something that we're really worried about, helping you develop this kind of connection. The nice thing is, as graduate students, your classes are usually small. You have these specialized faculty, your grad coordinators, who are the best faculty on campus. They teach at the undergrad level too, but their commitment, it's a pure commitment, because they really are not compensated for the work that they do as graduate coordinators. And so they are some of our most dedicated faculty. So I'll just kind of end it there, but you know that we're here, and just reach out to us. We make every effort to make sure that you're supported. So no matter what it is, if you need help with something, make sure you let us know. We'll also make sure we filled your questions and follow up, and we're going to get right back to you about the COVID training, since that's going to hold you up a little bit if you don't get that training done. Okay, anything else? Anybody want to add anything?
I just want to thank all of the grad coordinators for taking time to come, and thank everybody for coming, and thanks everybody for being very patient with us with this first virtual orientation.
Oh, I like the clapping hands. Woohoo! Good luck, faculty, too. This is, a great burden that you're carrying, and I know doing it so enthusiastically and beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.